So, what got us kind of chatting the other day when we caught up was you were talking about in-ear monitoring on stage, and that was something that had really kind of concerned me recently. How do you hear yourself when you play? So this is the big thing. How do you hear yourself when you play? And you were telling me about the different things that you'd tried. So do you want to run through a few of those things right now?
Well, I've never. Well, with the Massive tour, we've been using in-ear monitors for the last few years. I've never been a great fan of in-ear monitors. I've slowly I warmed to them over the years.
Yeah.
I've had many moulds made for me, because when you're using in-ear monitors, the company you're working for usually get you to have your moulds made, because obviously all our ear canals are slightly different, and then they insert the drivers, and then you have a pack, which means you carry your sound, or your mix around with you, which obviously you set up before the gigs or whatever. Yeah. For me, I've never really found anything that I can say I was really that comfortable with. On a set basis, they start off really well, but then because you perspire, it breaks the seal. When it breaks the seal, you lose a lot of the bass frequencies, and you lose them slowly. You lose them instantly. So if you're if you're actually getting into something and you're enjoying what you're doing, it's a real vibe killer. You're like bouncing away, like, where's it gone? It's not very nice. So I tend to use the generic headsets, which are basically ordinary sponges, obviously with a hole in the middle for the sound. Obviously, you squeeze them up, put them in, they expand and tighten a little bit inside the canal. So I've been using those for years, and I've been comfortable with them. So, thing about bass players and drummers is it has always been, for them, the issue of low frequency has been a point to sort of tackle. And I tend to find with the generic ones, they stay in for longer, and when you slightly lose the frequencies, you can just push them back in quickly. But yeah.
You were telling me about the bass frequencies, that you'd tried things like standing on a platform that would with a vibrating driver attached to that wooden platform that would transmit those bass frequencies through your feet into your body, so that you could actually feel the low frequencies.
Well, I think years ago, some American musicians came up with the term, was it interactive coupling?
Yeah.
It sounds better with an American interactive coupling.
Yeah.
Which is basically you lose that acoustic feel, so you don't get the feedback through the air, and to compensate, some people have tried to use baffle boards, I think they call them, which is probably the size of this table, which is what, about a metre square or something, or near almost.
Well, a baffle board is actually the kind of thing that you see on the front of a speaker, and a loudspeaker's mounted into what is called a baffle board. Yeah. And the thing that you're talking about, the coupling business, simply means mechanically coupling something together. Yeah. It means joining two things together. So the thing that they're joining together that you're talking to it's a thing like, at the back of a loudspeaker, there's a kind of electromagnet assembly that moves the speaker cone in and out. Well, what the kind of thing that we'd have on that baffle board is a mechanical device that has it's like a motor, and it will vibrate, and that motor is it'll have the windings. You send the signal to it, but instead of pushing a speaker cone, what it does is it vibrates the baffle board
against the wood,
and so it's mechanically coupled, as the term, to that baffle board, so that when the thing moves, the board moves, and then when the board moves, your feet move, and when your feet move, it gets up to your inner ear canal, and that gets to your brain. So that's the deal there.
Yeah.
It's all mechanically coupled.
Right. I mean, I tried it once. I tried it on one of the tours, and it just felt weird.
Yeah.
But it had the effect to a certain degree. But the problem there is, you have in-ear monitors, so you can take your monitors with you when you move around on the stage, or if you go from one point in. If you depend on that baffle board, if that's what we're going to call it, you're limited to.
You got to stick in that space.
Yeah, exactly.
Stand on that board.
Yeah, but I mean, eventually I got used to it, and it's also very isolating when you're using in-ear monitors, because you can't communicate in the same way with people. You can't just turn around and ask someone a question, you know, or if you want to communicate with other people who are on in-ears, you need to go to a microphone and speak to them, right? Which is really weird, because it could be in a sound check, which is a little bit more, you know, or any social point, you know, when you're not doing a show, you want to just simply say something. You speak to them and forget, and then you've got to find a microphone and, you know,
go and talk to them.
But generally, everybody is supplied with a microphone, so that you can just go and switch it on, speak, and switch off, which takes a bit of getting used to as well. So, and also, if you want to say anything to the sound man for any changes, you've got to speak obviously through
a microphone.
Yeah,
otherwise, you're not going to hear you.
Rip the thing out and shout.
Shout over the
over
the room.
Way,
Yeah.
So,
well, and then you were talking about, so what at the end of the day, do you feel that the sort of the more conventional side film monitors and floor monitors do a better job than the in-ear monitoring? Moot point, isn't it?
The thing is, I would prefer, you know, to have acoustic monitors, because it's more, it gives you more freedom, obviously, as far as not being restricted by wires, or, you know, as I say, you do get used to them anyway. But I think the ideal situation, if you're going to play a guitar or do something, you know, I think you communicate it better to the audience if you don't.
If you're not wired up for sound in that way, yeah.
Because, as I said, when you have the in-ear monitors, it's isolating, and it's one of the things you don't want to be when you're performing to a crowd. You don't want to isolate yourself. You want to be more, you know. One of the things you lose when you have in-ear monitors is the what do you call it?
The ambience.
The ambience.
You're not hearing the ambience around you, for one thing.
To get over that,
they feed something back in.
Yeah, they normally stick an ambient mic out and they feed that down.
So you're hearing the crowd a bit.
You hear a bit of the feedback from the crowd and stuff like that. But you know, that helps a little bit. But generally, that ambience, or just the general ambience of the room and things like that, you lose, which is part of the vibe. You know, but maybe, you know, one would say it could be a necessary evil, you know, to go down that electronic route, you know.